And so what happens is in the interim of that, what happens is the protocol, because New York City Transit Authority has existing policy when you're retired in the line of duty due to normal. This is not normal. This law needs to be changed because when I was with Transit Authority under Civil Law number 71 is the law how to go out sick in the line of duty.
Right.
And so I had to exhaust my sick time, my vacation time, and then under law, once I was out of work, full calendar year, went to a technical termination, and then I lost my medical for Thursday for Friday. It's law.
Wow.
Has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
It's just
That's
law,
policy. Right.
policy.
Yeah.
So getting back to the terrorism and all of this, if they change the law, that it would be easier for people under a new
account for
law,
that, yeah.
and then under the new law, because now this is a new situation with a new situation. This is the first, you have to, from a first responder point of view, there's many moving parts.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah.
I can throw all the parts on the floor,
Yeah.
but I got to pick them up piece by piece.
Yeah.
This is another piece. And in that piece, how do you get peace? Because now I'm trying to unfold this, and now medical's
Yeah,
gone,
right.
sick time,
Right.
and so all of this is like, how do I get medical?
Right.
So now, there was one point when I was home, I filled up my toilet twice with blood.
Oh my God.
And so I looked in my mirror. I looked at the mirror. I looked down. My heart was red. I fell on the floor. I blacked out. I woke up. I vomited on my toilet.
Yeah.
And so this is a snapshot what I went through.
Absolutely.
And so I'm just one of thousands.
Right.
And so I am thankful that the government, the United States government, and also many other people started the World Trade Center monitoring program.
Yeah.
The World Trade Center monitoring program initially was the World Trade Center medical monitoring program. The monitoring means you went there, they monitored you.
Right.
Then over years it was called the World Trade Center Medical Monitoring and Treatment Program. Then they were allowed through Congress to treat you. So because of all the John Feelgood Foundation going down to Washington D.C., where we would go down, Phil also, New York Rocks, and I going down to Washington D.C., that's what the Zadroga bill was all about. The Zadroga bill was the first to be inducted because that started the medical timeline going forward. So once you got on the World Trade Center Medical Mount Sinai program, that started your medical timeline. Now me as a New York City Transit Authority, I was giving many medicals upon entry. So as a civilian, when you volunteered, that's different. So now once you get on that program, that starts your medical timeline. That also starts your legal timeline with the Zadroga bill. So volunteering with the Zadroga bill actually is the first, started by James Zadroga, who was the first policeman that perished in September 11. So over time, that's when they initiated the bill starting for James Zadroga. And over time, we would speak with Joe Zadroga, the father, and then actually over time, John Field, and coming down here, lobbying back and forth out here. And so I was in the background with all of that, and actually Phil would document going forward, and New York City Transit Authority and other people, we were documenting all of this going forward. So what happens is the James Zadroga bill was then signed off approximately in 2010. I then, if I remember correctly, I was getting involved in somewhere 2010 in that time frame to 11, and then eventually became the reauthorization bill. Then the reauthorization bill, we went down to Washington D.C., and then it went to the Reauthorization Bill Act, because then they had to reauthorize on a time frame to expand the time frame because of people's age when they started figuring the youngest to the oldest and the lifespans of people. So there was a mathematical formula with that. So on that mathematical formula, they said, wait a second, we have to revisit this and make sure people are covered. And so then they expanded it. So what they did was they designed the cutoff point was Canal Street, east and west, and if you were in these zones, south, and portions of Little Brooklyn, and so these, you have to prove everything. So this badge is one of the things that I proved. That picture that picture that was in the Staten Island Advance is one picture that proves. These pictures are of that I was on the site. So these are my story and timeline of where I was. So now this particular picture, like I said over here, I was with my foreman Steve Natowitz in this particular picture.
Yeah.
And so we were up at the Deutsche Bank. And so I was doing access and protection. And so after I did access protection, we came walking over down into the tunnel, and I wanted to see. And so they would people were cleaned up in that area. That was all cleaned up. So him and I walked over. He was snapping a couple bits. That's why I'm clean.
Yeah.
I'm not dirty at all.
Yeah.
So I took my Tyvek suit off because that's why.
Right.
And so in this time frame, I don't remember that particular day.
Sure.
It would say 5/28.
Yeah.
And so that's when they were signing the beams and stuff. Right. And so in the evenings and days, I was working different times.
Right.
Getting back to that picture, that's a close-up to that. Yeah. And so that picture, the far left of the picture of the downtown at the Millennium Hotel, that's across the street. And that's approximately, I think the 15th, somewhere of the 14th or the 15th, I can't remember.
Sure.
I'm having
one of those last days though that you were here for like those long shifts.
I had a disposable camera with me.
Right.
And a disposable camera is what I would take, and the other pictures that I showed you, the bigger pictures, is myself in him, who my coworker Frank Ryan took the picture with my disposable camera.
Okay.
And so he's in that one picture of the right on the far left. He's the person in the green helmet on the far left. That's Frank Ryan.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And so, may I
sure.
see these pictures, Phil?
Yeah, you can explain some of these.
And so this particular picture.
Now you took these pictures personally, right?
from the disposable,
with the
correct.
disposable.
These are the disposable pictures, and this particular
Just
picture.
hold it a little bit more of an angle.
I photographed
Got a
these
little
pictures
delay
with
on
my
this one.
disposable camera, and what happened was Frank and I would be walking the site purposely from above, and once you walk the streets, you would know down below. There was a reason why we were doing, and so a lot of things that we were doing. So this particular picture was the side view from when you went to the corner where Liberty Street, where Burger King was. We walked straight down, and then the fire department was right there on the far left. This is their view, what they looked from across the street. This is their view.
So this is taken from that Liberty Street Burger King, roughly.
No, down by the fire department.
by the
coming,
penthouse.
walking down
Right. Okay.
on the street, walking somewhere in that view.
Got it.
That's a view, like a
This is
side
on
view.
Liberty. Yeah.
Would that be the correct?
That would be right. That's where the fire truck. That's where the firehouse is, and the Burger King is on Liberty Street.
That's Liberty Street, yes. This is a side view, and this is what, it was very important for me to show all the people that were there, and what America said.
Massive.
Sorry?
You could see it's massive. You could see all the people climbing up towards the steel right there.
And so,
Good for scale.
and so this was one, and then
Show that other one.
this,
It's you.
this particular
It's
one
unbelievable.
is my
Tilt it a little,
coworker Frank Ryan took my
little
disposable
glare.
camera and he photographed this for me. And what it is it was right here. That's me.
Yeah, that's good.
And so
Let me see for a second to show you, and it's you with the boots on.
So I wear,
Yellow boots.
This particular had the rain gear. The rain gear.
And so Frank Ryan would have taken this one, correct?
He took that one.
Because it was
My
raining.
disposal.
Remember, right after
Right
September,
after.
it
I
rained.
know, yeah.
And so he's in the other picture.
Yeah.
In the far.
In the green,
in
yeah.
The green.
The helmet, yeah.
So, and then this is the site
Right.
looking down
Wow.
straight in.
Now you took that one too? That's yours?
Yes, you can see my thumbprint on it.
Oh, yeah.
The glare of it, yeah.
So I walked straight in to the site up above, and so we came in, and then actually from Chambers Street, from across where the Millennium is, walking straight into the middle. And so there was there was a lot of concrete still in that area. Walked in, and shortly thereafter, a fireman, because what happened was I was speaking to fire personnel, and they were yelling out names, and so I was looking for my older brother's close friend, Joe Brennan, and so I was yelling out his name. He was one of the fire people, so I was yelling out his name, and so people didn't know where he was, and so they would yell names, and did you see the brother or the sister for the fire department? So, and then at one point, one of the fire personnel, he was just breaking down, so we were hugging and kissing. Not kissing, excuse me, we were just hugging.
But still.
So it was raw emotion, you know, and so it was just raw emotion. And so at that point, you know, and so it was just massive, because people were just breaking down, devastation, devastation. So that's.
And what day was that around that picture? What day was that
Must have
exactly?
been around the same time.
It's the same time.
14th,
Like the
15th.
14th, the 13th, 14th,
Because
15th?
as I said earlier,
Exactly.
in that picture
Yeah.
there on the 14th, that's when George
There.
Bush.
You could show that.
That's when
Show that
George Bush, President Bush,
Yeah.
did the bullhorn and spoke from the site.
On the west side, yeah.
You know, and so
Were you there for that? Did you have the opportunity to kind of in that huddle of responders
well, that's
that day?
that's what brought me to this picture. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
So because of we were on Church Street,
Yeah.
we heard the yelling and
the
all
other side, yeah.
on all everything going on.
And if you read the wall, it says rescue over revenge.
This is what we walked back up because we had to go back to City Hall. So I spotted somebody walking at me. I just didn't know it was a photographer. So my brother said, "Hey, did you see yourself in the paper?"
Oh.
And I said, "No. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Hey, tough guy, where were you last night?" I said, "I don't know."
Yeah.
He says, "What's the matter?" He says, "Look in the paper."
Well, it says it right here. It says what you were doing too. A worker from the World Trade Center passes graffiti written in dust.
So they
the
didn't approach
graffiti
you, they-
says rescue.
Okay.
They just
They just took the photo.
took the photo as I was walking by.
Yeah. Wow.
And so there was just tremendous amount of human compassion and raw emotions. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable.
Wow.
Just unbelievable. Human beings, consoling human beings, looking for human beings, and just trying to find the people that perished. And that's what the goal was, rescue. And also with the fire department trying to find their brothers and sisters, and also the police department trying to find their brothers and sisters with the police department, and also the Port Authority, because the Port Authority had trainings down there. So there was just massive stuff going on simultaneously.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I mean, it's hard for me to even comprehend.
And
the
so
scale. Yeah.
that's when you ask me, you know, how do you say this in several sentences? You can't.
Can't. Yeah.
You can't.
Absolutely can't.
There's just raw emotions that are a part of this, and I learned from fellow people that I met, such as Mary Fletcher, who lost a loved
Son.
and so Abdullah Casmatesis, who lost a brother.
Right.
And so everybody had a story of a human being that they lost. And so it is extremely emotional. And this goes on forever. And so how do you explain, as I said earlier, it's like trying to explain a book. So now you're building on an encyclopedia. You're building on multiple books that are pertained in these chapters. Learn from people that were there, learn from people that were alive, learn from people that responded as a responder. What does it mean? The term is because the mayor has what they call as contingency plans. The mayor has contingency plans, who's first, second, and all these other things, because there's reasons for them.
Right.
And so with the transit system, there's things down below for a lot of different reasons that they can and cannot say. And obviously. So there's a lot of reasons what I have to be careful about saying and what I say.
Of course.
So that's the big point.
Absolutely.
So you have to use discretion. And so in going back to like people that perished, every year I would stand when they were across the street, and so I would learn in consoling, because we as September 11th first responders are consoling as well, in a different format. In a different format. And so there's things that are said and there's things that aren't said. You know, it's like, how do you get through this? How do you focus on this? And that's what brought me to the John Field Foundation, and that's what brought me into when I was working for Home Depot, giving back to the communities. That's what this was all about.
How do I make my work matter?
How do I make life? How do I make me be an example in life and show my grandson, Rocco? How do I show him?
Bigger than me. Bigger than me. Yeah.
It's bigger than me.
Because he became an advocate
Right.
for
so
transit.
So many people. Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was down there, and we went back and forth to Washington and here at the World Trade Center site and documented everything that was going on and taking pictures. And he wasn't sent there by transit, but he went and represented them anyhow.
There's so many. There's so kind of tearing up a little bit, but there's so many raw emotions. I come from a very strong family, and
being an American
here is impossible. I do it my own way, but
in your own time.
My own time, but. To learn how one person goes forward with this, because what John Field did was start a wave,
a movement,
and he started a movement, and because of the wave he started, people then started listening, and I don't want to say, because people watch every word you say, and I don't want to say the wrong things, but from a first responder, there's things you have to say and can't say. And there's things you want to say but you can't say because somebody will take that a different way. And these are the pitfalls we deal with. So when you're trying to tell a story that somebody was there, and then now you have to prove it. So now you have to prove your value. That's insulting on top of insulting. Like I said earlier, my father was with the submarines. To explain to a Submariner, you have to prove. They ain't gonna tell you that. They told you once, and that's where I come from. And so that's what I'm trying to say to you, is here was the badge. So the badge signifies that I started what I was involved in and what led me there. John Feelgood of the Feelgood Foundation was a movement that was starting bigger than him, but he was a focal point that everybody surrounded him. And so everybody's story is similar but different. And learn from the first responders. So as getting back to myself, I would interact with different people explaining transit authority, as I explained to Joe Dandy, as I explained to Mary Fletcher, as I explained to Anatolio Casamatesis, as I explained to Alice, the former CEO, and so on and so on and so on. So, and what we were involved in transit, it's just thousands of people, hydraulic systems coming in and pumping the water out.
Cleared the path. We cleared the path to get into the site if it wasn't for transit and their grappling tools and their dump trucks
and that's
to
what
clear the site. They
So,
cleared the path to get for the firemen and the cops to get in there. You had to get into the site.
It was all part of a combined effort. It was all a part of a combined effort. Now all of a sudden you saw the grapplers, and who's cutting up the steel beams? Where's the steel beam going?
They
It
got
was
the
going to
iron
trucks.
workers.
It was going to trucks.
Iron
to
workers.
the barges on the west side here, being
Going to
bought.
Staten Island to the sanitation.
Staten Island.
You understand?
Sanitation. It's
a big picture here.
New York City sanitation. My brother, Richie Grande, was on sanitation truck coming in here as a first responder, driving for sanitation.
We had EMS. We had other agencies.
Out of the
Communications.
facility over by the Staten Island Mall, I think that's District 1, sanitation. And so he's just one of, again, of thousands of people. So the focus is on what happens next time. Ask the real question. Ask the real question that nobody wants to ask. What happens the next time? Is there procedures in place? Are there badges in place? This badge, it was explained to me by one of the gentlemen that I met at one of the downtown Marriott events. He created the badges, and so
We met him.
So in the limelight of this going backwards to go forwards of a catastrophe, a site this magnified with multiple moving parts going on, and it's like the car parts in a car. Do you know how many screws and nuts and bolts are in a transmission? Do you know how many screws and bolts are in a motor? And so if you're not seeing everything, somebody's driving the car. So in this kind of capability, when the mayor came up, he gave you immediate reports of what's going on, but he couldn't tell you the whole story because there was massive stuff going on. Just massive.
Yeah.
So these are the moving parts that when you look backwards, if there's another catastrophe, what happens? Is there a place to it where everybody has a sign-in log from an agency? Is there a signature?
Already.
And because you don't want to say that, that's what happened here. So now when there's another new, what do? How do you secure yourself? You know, you have to be proactive. And so these are all the real things. It's not like, oh, wait a second, I have to stop and talk to such. You can't.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
Right.
See the small dump truck?
Oh, so this is the back truck?
No, that's a small dump
that's
truck.
The dump truck.
These are small dump trucks.
Okay.
We would call this Bullwinkle.
Oh, right, because the antlers.
Bullwinkle.
Yeah.
So, and here's the state police.
And what did those do? The Bullwinkle, like what were those racks on the
There
top?
was just racks.
It's just racks.
Racks.
Okay, got
So,
it.
there's the back truck.
That's the back truck. Oh,
See the
okay.
state police?
Yeah.
State police was
Yeah.
guard.
So they just blocked off.
They just blocked it off.
Yeah.
And what I doing was we had to run going back the other way.
So this is the line of 2 miles that you referenced?
Yeah,
Like this is the start of it, but like.
transit. It was at night.
Oh, it was at night. Oh,
so
right.
we had to gather the truck. I was
You were working at midnight, right?
I was focused elsewhere.
Right.
So, but one of the trucks. These were 2 trucks.
Sure.
Right, the 2 back trucks, and one of them went to City Hall. One of them went to stock market, as I was saying. So, and this was, they had a block here, so we would run the trucks opposite, come back up, because it's a one-way going up. So we had the free reign of 6th Avenue.
Oh, nice.
To run.
To run through the
to
runs.
run,
Right,
then it
right,
would
right.
go over the Broadway and then down.
Go back up. Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
And so, every night was similar but different. These are all pictures. And so there's, I think that was 3. I can't remember. So Jan spotted some of the
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Three.
I wonder if that's our truck from downstairs.
So these, you'll see when you go through these pictures.
Yeah.
Transit was the first to go up to the site, right, and everything.
So
Clear the path.
on these pictures here, these are what I was saying earlier, Carmine Labasco. And so when I deployed at a 14th and 6th, there's a box that they sit next to. It's called a 6-wire. It's police, fire, I think the mayor, I can't remember, and transit. So it goes, transmission goes over this. So I was given a disc by Carmine with the transmission of what was going on as it was going on.
I see. Okay.
So it's extremely, I've had it under lock and key purposely because, it is what it is.
Absolutely. And Carmine, could you explain again Carmine's relation to you?
Carmine was a mason right
He was
here.
a mason. Okay, he was a
right here.
mason. Okay, SM. Is that like the title? SM?
He did this. He
Oh, okay.
created the whole book.
Yeah.
And he passed away?
Yeah.
Oh, he's okay. So he's no longer
Yeah, he passed away.
from 9/11.
No,
Or
I don't.
Just
Passed
natural?
away.
Yeah.
I do have a picture of him somewhere, but he gave me this book. He also made another one. Thought my coworker Steve, my foreman,
Oh, okay.
he made
Oh,
another
Steve.
book.
Okay,
Steve
yeah, yeah,
Nadowitz. It's HNOTWITZ, I think. Nadowitz. And so, and then I gave Jan the book of the Robin Hood Foundation.
Oh, okay.
And then that was the book they put in the Glade.
Oh, okay.
That
Sounds
was the book,
familiar.
that was the book
Yeah.
that I saved, and I said, hey, take this book.
Yeah.
So I donated that because it was focal to the raw emotions going on at the moment.
Yeah, sure.
So that's where we are.
So is the badge, explain a couple of the things that you donated, just in case.
Right
Just
now,
from here.
this is my medallion that I also donated the medallion that was given to me by Tony Utano of the TWU,
It's a bigger version.
the bigger version. And so this is a lapel pin that you put on your suit.
Right.
So it's just saying thank you.
Yeah.
And so it's a heart. The people that's been explained to me through Mario was the people that financed it with one of the law firms, and then Mario reached out to the people that make
Right. Medals of Honor.
the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Right.
They make this. They made this medallion for him.
Right.
So it's a high honor to receive it as well as recognition, and it's a very thoughtful recognition that they did on behalf of just thanking people of what they were involved in. And I'm very grateful for it. I'm very grateful to be alive. And so also, this is my badge. And so in my badge, it's a MTA Metro card, and so on the Metro card, you swipe the Metro card, and so that's where they know where you are, or you swipe in at the token booths, and you sign in a logbook on the token booths when you're on the stations.
Yeah.
So stations department, where I was at a 14th Street, stations department is stations. Infrastructure is in the tunnels and everything.
Right.
And so this badge is where I signed up with the
When you decided with the OEM,
the
Office of
National
Yeah,
Guard.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so Carmine's book,
Carmine's photo.
and so these are also the information, because on the information, these were all the agencies that were there.
Right.
So learn from their stories.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Learn from their stories. That's what it's about. You know, because as I was saying, it's just picture each one of these being a chapter in a book.
Right.
And there's a very large
Rich story to
and
tell.
I've always explained it like this. I've said it a couple of times, but it's kind of like if you like the Giants or Jets, and if you see the stadium at the new MetLife,
The new one, yeah.
And so in the very beginning, when they're flipping a coin like this, when they're flipping a coin, and the camera's going panning around, that's 85,000 people. That's 85,000 people, kind of similar to what transit had. 65,000 on the video on a documentary. That's just Transit Authority alone. And so when you see how many other agencies that were involved, that's what was going on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hard to comprehend the number, the size,
Right.
unless you were there to
Right.
see.
And so when you put a picture and a face to the amount of people,
Right.
the amount of people as an example,
Right.
as a football stadium, that's just one example.
Right. Right.
That's just one example.
All right, so it's the medallion, which is the thing, and
The
this
medallion already
is your badge. You were there.
Yeah.
You were on the
From
site,
9/11.
right? The red badge.
My
Show
medallion,
that. Show
my
the red
medallion
badge.
that I already submitted
Yeah.
in. My medallion, injured in the line of duty.
And your vest.
And the
too.
vest was a vest that particular vest was not the one I used on September 11th. That was the vest that was given to me as a secondary vest on the vest, and it's the uniform. It's the uniform for Transit Authority.
Okay.
When did you receive that vest? Do you recall, like, after, was it long after 9/11? Was
I
that, like, when you
don't
first
recall.
onboarded? Okay, I was just
don't
curious.
recall.
Okay,
I don't recall.
sure.
It's just a secondary
It was,
vest.
but it was just a backup.
So
vest.
if your vest got dirty, you got another
This
one.
is my bag, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
You got another one.
Do you recall what happened to your vest from? I mean, I imagine it was dirty. It was probably not worth keeping. But
It wasn't helping.
yeah, it wasn't helpful.
The scent, the smell, because of the raw scent that was there.
Right.
Right.
The hazard
Wasn't good.
conditions just
Yeah, exactly. You tossed. Absolutely.
no.
Yeah.
So
It's toxic, like.
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes with that question.
Oh, yeah, I'm
So
sure.
I'm just trying to be respectful.
Oh, no. I understand.
There's a lot that goes with it.
I can
But this,
understand
the one
some of it.
that's in this picture, is that the one?
That's just it's a uniform.
Is that the one
That's
that
the
you
one
gave
he
him?
used. That you're-
Or
no,
is
this
the-
is the one he gave.
That's not the particular vest.
No.
No, it is the
That's the
uniform.
one I was talking about.
okay.
No,
Yeah.
it's a uniform.
Yeah.
It's just the uniform.
Right.
The uniform consists of the PPE, which is called personal protection equipment. And so on that, your vest is one, your hard hat is another, whistle's another, your flashlight's another, and your work safety boots are another.
Right.
That's part of your safety equipment,
Got it.
standard procedure.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
And so I would like to thank the museum for the opportunity
man.
and the appreciation and dedication that you brought all the stories and still are explaining stories of what has taken place on this site, because the true meaning of a lot of meanings in this site, this site is like a burial ground, but it is historical on multiple ways. Today you see people walking and talking and laughing. Back in the day, wasn't that way.
Right.
And so back in the day, this site is very big. It's now filled back with life. It's the way it should be.
Right.
You know, and so you honor people that were lost here. And that's what the museum brings.
Thank you. And thank you for doing your part, Alan. I mean, I appreciate so much you coming and sharing all this. And we're looking forward as a museum to tell more of the stories.
Thank you very much.
It's a great
for your
first
time.
step.
Thank you very much, Phil.
And to get transit into transit authority in the museum, a local 100 too. You forgot to mention.
Thank you very much, Phil.
All right. Well, thank you. And hopefully we can get to see this, whatever he donated, it'll be displayed so people could see that,
Come
you
to the
know?
museum and see the story.
That's the objective. So he gave that up so it doesn't sit in a closet.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't sit on a shelf. It sits where people could say, hey, you know, this is part of the 9/11, what Alan Grande went through with Transit Authority, Local 100. And that's why we
If I may just elaborate, as you mentioned earlier, one other person that who was a first responder, Ron Spiller, was another plumber. He was involved in a rescue of a situation that he was involved in, finding a perished loved one. And so him, I, and others are trying to get, which is the World Trade Center Disability Bill, to go forward because, as I mentioned earlier, other agencies were on the three-quarter disability. So that's why I was hesitant on to give my badge, because I'm still
fighting.
I'm still fighting and advocating for that.
Sure.
So that's why I was hesitant to give the badge, because it's all part of still going forward.
Yeah.
We're still fighting to this day for a lot of things.
And it's something
for the
that
first
shouldn't-
responders.
It should.
Right.
It's something that you shouldn't have to fight for, but we have to.
Right.
And so the political leaders are there to put law in place. So the questions are, what about the next?
Right.
What laws have they changed?
Right.
What laws have they not changed?
Right. Are we
What
ready?
laws are we ready? And so what laws are for every agency? Look at the agencies. Are things changed? What changed? What procedures changed? Who goes in first? How do they document people? Are there badges like
Right.
this? What changed? Is it emergency management? What changed? How do they identify each individual? These are the things that need to be addressed.
Absolutely.
And so these are part of what you're explaining.
Yeah. Exactly.
These are part of what you're gathering.
Yeah.
And that's why I came forward
Yeah.
to gather the information to explain for my grandson Rocco and my daughter Nicole.
For the generations that aren't here yet.
And
but
for
wanna
the
know
generation that could say,
need to know the stories.
and as I mentioned, my father was in the United States Navy, the submarine he served on. So I gave I also with Phil, I gave my father's uniform to the museum
Wow.
that he served on.
Yeah.
So
We've
I
been
know
on
the
the ship,
value.
too.
I know the value in
Having these things.
for people for future.
Absolutely.
Getting back to Home Depot and giving back to the community.
Right. Right.
That's what I was taught.
Appreciate it, Alan. We need that kind of thinking for, not thinking about the people that are here for the future.
Right. So technically, the needs are, and then that, like I said, this is an updated one.
Yeah.
So this is an updated because when you look at all of these agencies, right here, disaster mortuary assistance.
Right.
You want to know that?
Right.
Right. Disaster mortuary assistance. So, and when you learn about each agency, right, you get the federal emergency management, disaster mortuary assistance, right? And so you had all of these agents: OEM, FDM, NY, Fire Department, Department of Transportation.
He has a copy of that? Did you give him a copy?
Yeah. Is that okay to keep?
That's the original or the copy of it?
Seal, see the seal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did this purposely, and I showed Sam Pirozzolo when we were lobbying up in Albany. This book and another book. And so here's my affidavit. This is what these are all different things that are going on. So I had. See, this particular one, I had it done several times. This one I had it updated. All right, so this one is an affidavit. When you heard Mario,
Yeah, I heard him mention that.
when he said affidavit, that's what this was about. See, what they did was the union, Mario,
Yeah.
if you look on the bottom, it says sent to Mario. Right? So this affidavit means your sworn testimony.
Right.
So your sworn,
I was there.
So your sworn testimony is now
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That is part of what I'm
The
giving.
documentation. Right.
So this is what the seal was.
Oh,
the
yeah,
seal.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's the real stuff.
So I made several copies when I got notarized
Good.
and seal on.
Yeah.
So one I submitted, believe it, to Mario, and then years later I did it a second time.
Right.
So I get a little confused with that.
Right. Where it is. Yeah, exactly.
So I sent to you a copy.
I saw that copy.
That's this.
Yeah, the paper copy's fine. We're gonna keep that for reference for our
That's
files.
that's
But
this.
that's good.
That's this.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
because if you look at here's the affidavit
yeah.
and there's the medallion.
Yeah, the design.
And that's what they did was the
local.
recognition project.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So it's a whole project.
It's a project that they started.
Yeah.
So the project that they started, TW, the logo. And so what they did was they were trying to backtrack on finding people that were part of rescue recovery and cleanup. The term.
Right.
It's the term we were involved in.
Right. Cleanup.
Rescue, recovery, and cleanup. It's the term. It's an official term.
Right.
So in a term, different things go on legally
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's all part of what we were involved in.
Right.
And so when we were involved in rescue, recovery, cleanup, so that's what transit signifies rescue, recovery, cleanup.
Got it.
You know, it's where the funding, different funding is.
Right. Depending on what part you were part of. Or
Long story short, you know.
Sure.
And so this is what Mario was saying. Anybody with the affidavit, and that ceremony was for people getting their medallion.
Right.
I already received mine. That's why I stood in the front row, in the front row, and was just sitting there.
Sure.
I didn't want to. It wasn't for me. I already went through it.
In
And,
recognition.
right. And so this is what Mario mentioned about the
I
affidavit.
remember him mentioning it. That's
And
good.
so that's what this was about. So here's my badge number, and then I put up here City Hall. That's where I was first deployed to. But over time, you know, it was giving you like a calendar. I made diaries, so that's why I can always backlog.
Right.
It's my own
Where you were, right.
my own way of way I did.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and so that's how I know on a lot of these different situations.
Right.
Time frame,
Right.
and like a time capsule clock.
And these affidavits, does Mayor provide those at every single union meeting, just to try and get more people?
Could you say that again?
Sorry, does Mario provide these affidavits, or does the union provide
This
these
is on
affidavits all the time?
this is on the website.
Oh, it's online. Okay.
It's on their website.
Yeah.
And so when you signed up for injured in the line of duty,
Yeah.
it was their way of giving you the medallion
Right.
and the lapel pin,
Yeah.
recognizing you for your efforts and saying thank you, and you can move on with your individual life.
Right.
So it really, it's
recognition.
an honorable way to say thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And respectful.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it gives a history on the individual.
Right.
And so what Mario was trying to say to you in the meeting was they've had multiple of people that were involved with transit or TWU that have these.
Right.
So everybody has an individual story.
Right. Right.
That's what I keep saying.
Right.
And the individual stories of what people are involved.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We're hoping this opens the floodgate, honestly, Alan. Like, I think people like you sharing your story, Mario's donated, him sharing his story. Like, I think hopefully that means more transit workers will feel comfortable, will feel ready to come forward with their story,
Well,
with their artifacts.
that's the bigger picture.
That is the bigger picture, exactly. Like, you're doing an amazing job just being kind of one of the first agents. You know, it's always hard to get it started, but like, you know, just for you to stand up as part of the transit, say this is what we were doing across the board. That's valuable for us. We don't know, you know, we don't know.
I always say I'm just a plumber.
You're just
And I always say that realistically because honestly, everybody needs a plumber.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
it is
still essential,
It's
like,
a humble
incredible
but good
essential.
cartridge.
Yeah.
Right. So the cartridges on that. So this was the safety advisory. October 26, 2001.
Wow.
Right.
But still, it's a month later.
And so then these were. traveling from to work.
Oh, okay. They have protocols for.
Protocol.
Yeah.
Because of your badge.
July
And
23rd.
so
yeah.
here is my training with the respirator that's traveling to and from work.
And these are just higher up management.
These are
just
management.
People, okay. Sure.
That's
All.
They're giving you memorandums, and so here is
Oh, wow.
the respirator.
Your respirator like
They give you
completion.
a signature.
February 2001. Oh wow. So very.
So all of this, see, that's the half full face
Right,
cartridge.
right.
And the cartridges are designed for X amount of hours.
Right. 16 or 8 hours. You said.
8 hours.
8 hours.
typically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so
yeah.
these are different things that trainings that I was going for. Respirator. And so here goes to.
It's incredible you have a paper trail for all of this.
So here it's showing you metallic,
metals. So.
toxic particulates, right? It's on training. These are all training. Pesticides, metals,
Did his homework.
Yeah, I can tell. I was gonna say, yeah, you have it all.
asbestos. See
Yeah.
asbestos?
Asbestos awareness, yeah.
That's in
2009,
2002, 2003.
Yeah.
Right? And so these are safety, confined space and rescue, 2003.
It's like you needed the proof. Because
Right.
even Sheila Burbaum told us she was in charge of,
Yeah.
right? Tell her her title.
Yeah.
And she told her if you have pictures, if you have documents,
Yeah, send it
you need
all.
to
It was a
show
special
proof
master-
that you were
special
here.
master.
You were
Right.
here.
It was a special
Right.
master.
Because there was a lot of people that said they
We're
were
just
here,
wait- right,
weren't
right.
really here.
Right.
Here's,
You know,
Yeah, so they had to be
to
sure.
make sure.
Yeah.
here's what
Yeah.
they call it. It's your right to know about asbestos. It's your right to know. These are training.
2003, yeah.
It's your right to know. It's back in 2003. Because if you get sick,
Right. And
it's your right to know.
right,
It's
exactly.
training.
Exactly.
So these are all part of the training aspects of what I was mentioning to you. So these are attendance
Training,
slips.
yeah.
Now here's an ironic twist. Greg James
Yeah.
is my cousin.
Oh, okay. That's the, oh, okay. You mentioned. It.
I didn't know until he walked in because he's actually a fire chief out in Farmingdale.
Oh, wow.
And he was also an instructor in the class.
Yeah.
I did not know that until I
didn't
sat in the class.
Oh, man.
And he came walking. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And
Like-
so he was training.
world.
Small world.
Yeah.
But he's a fire chief.
Yeah.
Farmingdale, Long Island.
Yeah.
And so he
Wow.
would sign off for the half full face.
Right. Right.
And he would sign off on because there's a procedure.
Right.
These are my training slips.
Alan is good for the half-face respirator training.
And
yeah.
for
You
confined
got to be
space.
certified.
Right.
And recertified.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, and this is confined space. James Leckie was I think, a captain, I think, in the fire department, I forget. So they would train you at the facility because
Yeah.
Transit has a training facility at Coney Island Yard.
Oh, okay.
And so that's where they would train you for train rescue.
Go in, right.
And you would do different training.
Right.
So these are all different places part of the training.
Right. Right.
So, and then they would train you for fall protection. Why do you need to know about fall protection? Because if you're
yeah.
on a ladder, on a platform,
yeah.
and a train's coming by,
Right. How do
everybody
you?
has to be trained.
Right. Right. Right.
Because it's part of the training.
Right. Right.
You know, and so as bizarre as it sounds, then here is, here's my CPR.
National Safety Council. Yeah.
The CPR. So they train you. They,
04. Yeah. Or yeah.
they train you for CPR.
Yeah.
Because you're a first responder.
Right.
Next to a guy, if he drops, if he got hit by a
Right.
train,
You just
you
gotta
need
be
to-
in action.
You gotta
yeah.
be in action.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's all part of his medical evaluation.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and so it says respirator
Spirometer,
spirometer
yeah.
qualified.
Right.
It's like you got to be
That's
physically
Also,
fit
yeah. Right.
when you start. too.
Understand?
Yeah.
So when I mentioned earlier, it's a whole aspect.
Right. Right. They cover everything. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Everything's about safety.
Right. Right. Right.
Everything's about safety.
Right.
So if you cover yourself and cover your safety aspect, nobody wants to see nobody ill.
Right.
Nobody wants to see injured in the line of duty.
Right.
People want to go home.
Right. Exactly. Same way you
That's-
came to work. Right.
That's why I was saying to you earlier, learn from it.
Right.
That's
Right.
why I was suggesting.
How do we anticipate the unanticipated?
Exactly.
Right. Absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
these it goes on and on. But I just wanted to share that with you.
That is really handy.
I did forget to show you. Which
No,
I
no, no.
had.
Thank you for showing me now.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and like what we said, we were mentioned before, God forbid, we come into another emergency like this. we have to make sure that our first responders
Yeah, are cared for and they
are
you know,
cared for.
prepared.
Or,
yeah, they're equipped
like
and
we're not just thrown into the line of
right,
fire,
right,
and without having the proper
right. Anything,
tools,
anything.
because
Right.
when you go to work on a car, you need the proper tools,
Right,
right?
exactly.
So if you go into an
Yeah.
emergency, you need the proper tools.
Right.
So
You guys are doing
Yeah.
amazing work, like
Really.
you know, into the
This
modern
is-
day. This is
right.
This
amazing.
is what I was
Yeah.
hoping to share,
Absolutely.
but you can't say this
No,
in one
you need
snapshot.
the time,
yeah,
right?
it's a lot.
Exactly.
It's a big.
And every time I would sit there,
It's a big
and I
picture.
would get, "Hi, how are you? You know, what did you do? And
Yeah.
what were you up to?"
Yeah.
And you can't.
Right.
You need time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let
I
me.
know, right.
Yeah, and it's not linear either. It's kind of you got to
You need
go
time to
back,
explain.
forward. Yeah, exactly.
And then you get a
Yeah.
better understanding.
Yeah.
You know, and it's because, as I was saying to you, we were watching for water as far back as Canal Street on 109. That's not around the corner.
Right.
And so, you know, all of that plays a factor on the museum
Absolutely.
because you're showcasing what went on
Right.
on this
On that
site,
day, yeah. On that day here at the site.
on a
yeah.
date and years out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're still learning.
Absolutely.
And that's what I was sharing with Phil because he's like,
Quite a
"Oh,
bit.
9/11 was years ago." I said, "But you're coming to Washington D.C. with me with the Zadroga bill."
Yeah.
I said, "You're understanding it." So
Right.
he was documenting
This is a today
as
issue.
well. It was today. Now that's in the past.
Right.
Now he has the footage of what we were explaining. I said, "You would document that hours."
right there.
So many people that are no longer with us.
Right,
They passed
since
away.
then.
We were standing
Right.
next
He
to walking,
documented hours.
Yeah.
walking the halls of Senate
Yeah, yeah.
and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He documented hours.
Yeah.
So when you
Yeah,
watch
we
the
have a
news
lot.
network, you got maybe,
A
Couple of minutes.
Yeah.
A snippet.
A snippet. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's what you know.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
documented hours.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I said, "You're like Walter Cronkite."
Yeah.
You know, I want to just make him understand
Right.
how valuable. this
Absolutely. It's important. Yeah. Exactly.
You
I
don't
mean,
realize how important and significant it is to capture the moment, because when the moment's gone, it's gone forever.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And if you don't have that,
Either you got it or you didn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
whether you have it or you don't have it,
That's
is a
exactly.
big thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why for many years I was asking Phil to help because I knew how valuable this was still going.
Right.
We lost a lot of friends on 9/11. Fireman friends, Stephen Olson, Frankie Esposito, other people there was so many people from Staten Island we lost.
Right.
It was, and you seen their faces, and even though you might have not have known them
Yeah.
personally, but you knew them because you grew up.
Right. You were from
In Staten Island,
Yeah. Exactly.
everybody was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
fireman,
yeah,
a
yeah.
cop, or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
It hits home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it really affected us all. And since he was a part of it, working as a first responder for 9/11, that's how this all became.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what, we're going to do something about it. We're going to become,
Advocates.
You found purpose.
advocates,
You found-
and
you
we're
found
going
purpose
to
in-
we're
It
going to
actually is, it's another part of that jigsaw puzzle that I was saying to you.
Yeah.
Years ago, my father gave me great advice.
Right.
Like in a problem. You got a problem, throw the problem on the floor. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Pick it up one piece at a time.
Right.
Right.
Because as I said, he was with the submarines. There's no reason in a submarine.
Right.
There's
Right.
emotions.
Right.
You got to
right.
do what you got to
What's
do.
the
And
problem?
that's
How
it.
do we-
You got to
right.
fix.
Right.
So that's how I'm born and bred.
Right.
So
Right.
that's how I'm born and bred.
Yeah.
So with that, picking up the pieces, these are my pieces in
Yeah.
what I was about.
Absolutely.
And so to showcase it in a different forum, which is the 9/11 Museum, I thought it was the best place to be because that's
Right.
where
Absolutely.
it would mean a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Still today grieving.
Absolutely. Yeah. And people that don't have the connections, that they will find your story and connect to it in whatever way, whether it's a plumber in Ohio that's visiting with his family.
And so as I was saying earlier, even in a humble way,
Yeah.
a plumber, everybody needs a plumber,
Absolutely,
but it is a vital point in life.
Yeah.
right.
I was always told, respect water.
And the story really is, it's everyday people that weren't necessarily waking up that day thinking they'd be heroes or responders,
Right.
becoming responders and answering the call when it was cast upon them, like
Right.
you did. So,
Yeah, and a lot of people
Yeah.
that were from New York, they came here,
absolutely,
right?
from across the country.
Yeah, they were from across
country
the,
who descended
and they were on the site.
Exactly.
Right?
The next day.
Yeah.
The next day. So
what I
that's
was
the story we
explaining.
try to
There's
tell.
just so many
Yeah.
thousands of people.
All right.
Absolutely.
Wow. It's a lot. All right, well, that concludes for today, but,
Hopefully there's more. Hopefully you
there's
find
more. There's a lot
Hopefully
more,
you'll dig through
that.
the files.
Right? The story never ends.
Yeah.
It always continues. And that's why we have a lot of work still to do.
Thank you very much for
Right.
your time and help and appreciation. And thank you to the September 11th 9/11 Museum. The importance of this museum is not for today. It's showcasing what everybody was involved in, and it's a timeline in time that was already passed, but bring it to the future. And so I am very grateful, and they have, in my opinion, taken a lot of dedication and time and energy and money and focus and empathy and everything that went with that to design this site. So there was a lot of thought in this site. I watched it from the beginning and where I am sitting at the moment. So as a September 11th first responder, this is a very, very, very poignant place in time. So
It's a
I wanna
sacred
thank-
place too.
It is
Sacred
best
ground.
words. And so it is a sacred place. I call it like a gravesite because of the people that perished. I also say it's like a battlefield because of everything that transpired here. So, and also the World Trade Center Medical Monitoring Treatment Program that now is the Mount Sinai program that now is followed up by so many other thousands of first responders that
John Feelgood Foundation that spearheaded the beginning of the as somebody said to me, a crusade on a lot of levels of learning what people did and just learn their stories. Right.
So thank you very much for the time, and I appreciate everything that everybody's done.
Alan Grande, plumber with Transit, on 9/11 first responder. Thank you very much for your service, and thank you, Dylan, again
Yeah, no
for
problem.
your invite and graciously hearing our story here
Of course.
today.
Thank you guys.
All right.
Thank you, fellas.